you.
Our meeting will come back to order, please.
Just a couple things that we would like to clarify a little bit before we talk a little bit here, and I think one of them is the 2009 question that was still out there, and
I guess for me, I look at it and I was not here at that time, so it does not affect me. Was not part of this district, but I have seen how hard we as a district have worked to help out those new teachers coming into the district, especially when cost of living was higher. And I appreciate that we're looking at fixing the index to help those that have the longevity. We're here for the long haul with the district to better this school district and not just getting their feet wet and then moving on. But I really do think that those teachers that took that lane freeze for 2009, I still truly feel that they should be compensated. And I don't know if there's a way of allowing them to take 2 steps, 2 increments down to get to where they should be and I understand that we get to that tricky spot where there's several of them that no longer have a lane to go. They're, at those increments, and I know it's tricky because it would be like this coming year if they are on their 2-year cycle and 2017-18 is not their time to get an increment, that we let them get their increment a year early, but it gets them back where they should be on this, because of that generosity of that group to say, yes, we will take the lane freeze, we will help our district out.
I would hope that by being willing to adjust those indexes, that we would be helping that group of people who took the freeze or had the freeze in 2009. I understand. I believe that if I was one of those people, I would probably be frustrated. I truly believe that. However, there were, and I don't know if we want to argue about this or not, but I wasn't here either. My understanding is that there was more money put on the table in exchange for freezing that lane. The board feels as though it's paid for that. And I don't know, I think no matter what I say, I'm probably going to sound callous, even though I don't feel that way. But I don't think that both for language and for precedent, and because we don't want to get into the habit of opening up agreements that happened almost a decade ago at this point and rehashing out everything that was done there. That's what the 2 sides agreed to at that time. I don't know what else to tell you about that. We're trying to move forward and to build this relationship, and so we're putting this change in the index on the table, which is a big deal for us.
And in defense, I think that we are not happy, but the 1%, the 2% being added back on was ratified by our group, or the 2% added to the year 6 and below was ratified by our group at that time based upon what was said during negotiations. So I think that bringing this back to the table was justified. And I can understand, and your point in regards to the other one.
I think it is appreciated that we've looked at the indexes and we're adding that on. But again, with your proposal, we are a flat raise that if we're not adding to the base, you know, more veteran teacher doesn't get that percentage, so we're still benefiting those in those top lanes just as much as the veteran teachers. See what I mean?
So, with that being said, Mrs. Berglund. Thank you for the 2% and, you know, adding it, and I think that we can sell that. I can't sell a 2-year flat raise. I'm sorry. I can't do it. I can try one.
Okay.
But the veteran teachers are not gonna allow that. We punched some numbers to try to be what we think is fair to the numbers that you have added to your schedule. And we believe it would be fair to the veteran teachers to not have the flat base the second year. So the flat base, based upon your schedule, would still be 500 there, not 1,000. And the year 2 base raise would be $275, which would be equivalent to the amount of money you are spending right now, but would benefit our veteran teachers more so than a flat raise.
Okay. That's going to be a little tougher for us because, again, you know, the purpose of the flat was to balance out the percentage that's only going to the bottom. If we were to do that, is that going to be sufficient to help those veteran teachers feel that they have been heard and taken care of? Basically, I guess I'm asking, are we going to keep hearing about this 2009 step?
Regardless of what
I'm not
happens,
laughing at you.
we will hear it forever. I mean-
You will, but we have to, at negotiations every year, talk about, I know that you'll probably, anyone who was here will probably just be frustrated about it. I get that. But is it gonna keep coming back to this negotiations table? Because I feel like I have to have something to take back if we're, you know, putting money on the base, which, again, benefits the veterans more than it does the beginners.
Like if we explain it maybe, like explain exactly what's happening here, you know, with everything maybe, I don't know. I really don't have an answer.
I'm not following your question.
Well, she's saying, I mean, are we
Oh.
gonna be able to knock off this 2009 step? And I said, if we go back to our DEA and present them with this and explain with the percentages and everything, how it will benefit, and maybe we could drop it, I don't know. But I don't really have an answer for it.
I guess I'm tired of hearing the horse too.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
It's gonna be a tough sell, but I'm willing.
Okay. Do we need a second caucus to talk about this proposal, or
You did the numbers in your head and they work out?
the number? Yes. The numbers work out.
Okay.
So, I hate that neither party gets to walk away feeling like really victorious, you know what I'm saying? But I also think that this would be doable for us. We'd still get that flat in the first year. We could put 275 on the base in the second year. And I also appreciate that you guys didn't try to up the ante, because we really did walk in today with our best offer. And so I just wanted to say that I appreciate that very much. I think we could agree to that.
Yep.
What are your thoughts?
No, I wholeheartedly.
Okay.
So just so that everybody in the room is clear, the way I'm understanding it is the DEA would accept year one of the school board proposal with the 500 flat
And the 1%.
and the change to
And
range
the-
step
yep.
6 and 7,
Yep. Change 7 and beyond.
7
Yes.
and beyond.
Yes.
And then year two would be $275 added to the calculating base, which would take it to $36,925. You good?
Well, and just to be clear, the
And then
second year, yeah.
Also has that
1%
1% added,
yep.
so that would then equalize
The 2%.
the 2%, which was of the utmost importance to us.
Right, and we recognize that, so. Okay.
Okay. So I think that takes care of everything, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, so the minutes from May 9th were reviewed and approved. There were 2 memorandums of understanding signed by the parties, one regarding flexibility of personal leave, one regarding makeup days in the school calendar. Stipends for district moves was removed from discussion. Defining specifically assigned and unassigned time was removed from discussion after a brief conversation. The rest of the items were wrapped together into a conversation about finances. The parties have a tentative agreement on a 2-year contract with the salary schedule having a flat increase in year one of $500 plus an increase of 1% for lanes 7 and beyond in the first year. And in the second year, the calculating base will increase by $275 to $36,925, and the additional 1% for lane 7 and beyond will be implemented in year 2. Did I miss anything?
No?
Okay. So barring some unforeseen circumstance, I don't think there's a need to schedule another meeting.
Hallelujah.
Oh,
This can't be our last meeting, because DEA has voted that we won't settle until all the other parties have settled.
You voted we wouldn't
Yeah.
settle, or they won't ratify it?
Won't ratify.
We won't ratify.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. The other thing we need to talk about before is, if we do a 2-year contract,
Oh, that's right, I forgot about this.
we have, last year, we had the sunset clause in the third personal day. And so how are we going to handle that?
It doesn't expire until 2020.
It'll take you through this.
2020?
Yeah. I think that's
Okay.
fine.
Let's double check that.
Be good.
Because you, help me remember the timeline. You can't vote on this for a number of days anyway. How many days is it before they could even vote on it?
We have to have a general meeting of our members to present it,
Uh-huh.
and then they have 7 days, and we meet again to vote on it. And then we inform you guys what the vote was,
Okay.
and then it becomes your ballgame.
So there's a couple of potentials. One, the administrative negotiations may finish before that 7-day window is up. And I personally would rather move forward so that teachers can know what's going to happen next year and so we can know who's going to be here. And secondly, your membership could change their minds and vote to be able to ratify it. So I think there's two scenarios in which it could still work out. I guess what happens, I don't know what happens if it just doesn't, if you're unable to vote on it. I don't know what happens then.
May I address Mr. Smith? Mr. Smith, if we presented it to the group in the next couple of days with the understanding that we will not come together to vote until after the administrative contracts have been settled, is that okay? So if let's say they don't get settled till next Wednesday, we technically would have 8 or 9 days, but at least we would have presented and we'd have had that first meeting already, rather than waiting for that. Is that okay? Would that address one of your concerns?
I just want to be able to get going on it, and
Absolutely.
as much as I like you guys, I really don't want to meet again in this scenario for 2 more years.
Mr. Reed?
So what I'm hearing, because of timeline for ratification, it won't happen before the last day of school then? I mean, if you have to wait a week from tonight, you have to wait, so that takes us to...
A week from the presentation.
Okay, so do you know any idea when you're going to present it? Well, let's say it's tomorrow, which would be as early as, unless you can have one tonight, but... Okay, so tomorrow's the 17th?
It's the 24th we'd vote.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah.
So just as a point of clarification, I guess I was doing the calendar in my head. We'll have to issue contracts one of 2 ways. This has happened, obviously, many times. One way we thought of it is teachers, we would send out notification that data sheets and contracts are done, and they could come and pick them up. Some like to pick them up and not trust the U.S. mail. And the other thing that we would have to make sure that teachers had their correct address in our payroll system, because a lot of times people move during the year and they don't notify, and then their contract goes to a different house, and 14 days will go by before U.S. mail gets it back to them. We try to eliminate all of those possibilities that we could, because they just... So that's important for me to state publicly. We'll try, we'll have them so that people can come and get them. As soon as the board ratifies, after the DEA ratifies, we'll get them ready, and here's the date, and the 14 days starts counting, regardless of mail or how you get them. Just wanted everyone to be clear on that. We'll do what we can. I'm not, I think a lot, if I were a teacher, I'd want to come and get mine and have it in my hand.
And we could probably even utilize the various communications venues that we have as well to make that known as well. Because we don't want any of our teachers to lose out,
Right.
obviously, because of the reduced days from the legislature a couple years ago.
And I wouldn't trust, school mail still goes that week after school's out, but I'm not gonna trust that every secretary is there and make sure that Jay gets his in his box. I just don't wanna take that chance. So we'll mail them, if they're not picked up in the first 2 days of when they're available, something like that.
And I did just confirm that the sunset clause ends on June 30th, 2020, so the next negotiation session, we could take care of that.
I say barring any issues that either side has, and if that's the case, we'll just have to have an open line of communication.
Yeah. Agree with that.
Okay, meeting's adjourned.
All the